Bibiana Ancheta is a 25-year-old American Indian from the Tulalip Indian Reservation, a collection of beaches and forests on the northwest edge of Washington state. That's where she lives with her mother and sister, but she's also home in the Indian communities of British Columbia. She was raised traveling, driving, or even paddling in hand-carved canoe up north to visit her relatives who, more than 100 years ago, were separated from her. That's when an imaginary line was drawn, now called the U.S.-Canada border. Tightened security along the border since 9/11 has created more challenges for Indians, who for generations traveled freely throughout the area. Bibiana says that makes it more important than ever to connect with northern neighbors and take part in ancient Northwest traditions.
I have a family on the other side that I try to visit as much as I can, and as a young teenager, gained most of my experience in border crossing from tribal journeys and learning who we are and what we used to do, where we came from, which is quite opposite from the world we live in now.
Tribal journeys are also called canoe journeys. Indians like Bibiana, from throughout the Northwest region, including Canada, paddle hand-carved cedar canoes along ancient waterways to meet one another for an annual gathering. But more recently, Bibiana has learned about another traditional practice, one she says was once widespread throughout the region, but is now only practiced among Indians in Canada.
I am currently 9 months pregnant, and I've met about a handful of young women my age and a little bit older who have had their children traditionally. They have shown me a world of going back, where we are able to build more traditionally using raw resources, and one of those kind of buildings is called a pit house, where you dig a pit and you basically build a roof over that. Building a pit house and giving birth in it would be a huge step. My plan is to spend the first 4 days of my child's life just with us connected to the earth.
Bibiana's friends and relatives helped her dig a huge pit in her backyard. Bibiana's sister, Darkfeather, organized a work party to gather wood from around the reservation and build the walls and roof. But the morning of the work party, Bibiana felt her first contractions, 2 weeks earlier than what her midwife had initially said would be her due date. Instead of lugging cedar to finish the pit house, Bibiana and her friends went for a walk with their dogs to ease the pain of labor. Bibiana was disappointed that her pit house wouldn't be ready in time for her to give birth in it. She prepared to give birth at home in her living room instead. But the pit is still there, and Bibiana plans to finish building it.
I was having a hard time when my water first broke, and I was really hoping it wasn't, just so I'd try to be that example, I guess. It's not a waste. We can use it in future full moon ceremonies or celebrations, potlucks.
Darkfeather says the new mother is reminding a generation of young American Indians how important it is to cross the border into Canada and learn from northern relatives, even if border security is so tight that travel becomes a challenge.
That's kind of made us realize, like, you gotta go off and you gotta look at how we're plugged in down here and how it's a different world up there. And we've lost those ways.